Good morning, everyone. I was a little worried. I was like, is he gonna butcher my name? I don't know what's gonna happen, because it frequently happens. My name is Chenyka Ramos, and I am a clinician at Lasting Recovery. I've been specializing in addiction for about 6 years now. I've been with Lasting Recovery for about 3. And when I was asked to do this speech, I was very concerned about what I was going to talk about. And luckily, one of my clients inspired me. And so I started considering. But like Jeff, I've kind of squashed the speech that I had and just going to go off of what I know and what we talk about all the time. I'm going to be talking about a couple of things. Stages that people go through in early recovery, but also the dilemma of change. And it's a process that when people come into our doors in particular, we discuss over and over again and reinforce the process of change and why it's so difficult. But specifically when people call Lasting Recovery, they may be in crisis, they may be questioning what they're experiencing. Are they addicts? They may have went on our website and took the questionnaire, am I an addict? And they may not have liked the results of that questionnaire and what they got. But nonetheless, they call Lasting Recovery. We get them in for an assessment, and then they come in for an admission. And early on, I specifically speak with them about this dilemma that they experience, because change for people is very difficult. It's a difficult process to, one, acknowledge I have a problem with drugs and alcohol, but then what the heck am I going to do about it? So when they come into Lasting Recovery, we talk about a number of things, but I introduce this dilemma, and we talk about it openly. What is it that you're giving up? What is it that sobriety is going to bring to you? And what is it that a recovering person, your definition of what it is to be a recovering person, what does that mean for you, and how scary that process is? You may be coming out of a DUI, you may be coming out of an intervention, you may be coming out of some extreme consequences from your disease, but not quite sure that you want to change. So we do a number of things. Jeff and I work with them on a number of things, but there's a few interventions that we have for them so they can work through this process. But looking at that dilemma, so maybe there's a cost benefit. What's the benefit of getting clean and sober? What are you giving up? Because we're asking you to make a complete lifestyle change. That may mean giving up friends. That may mean giving up my job. That may mean I can't socialize with certain people, certain places. That may mean that I change the way I dress, the music that I listen to, everything. And that's extremely scary for folks. So we also look at how they're going to be going about making this lifestyle change. And continuously processing with them this dilemma that they experience. Because it doesn't necessarily go away after they've gotten into treatment. This can be something that they experience for quite some time, even when they're leaving treatment. So in this process, I also help to identify what stage of change they're in. Now, people come in and they may not necessarily be ready. They may have been forced by a family member, an intervention. They may have had some issues at work. And the hope is that they can see the benefit of getting clean and sober. So the stages that people go through vary. They may be in pre-contemplation stage. Do I have a problem? I don't have a problem. At this point in pre-contemplation stage, I don't even recognize that I have a problem. I'm drinking and using like everyone else. I think I perceive that I have a casual relationship with substances. And maybe something happens. And then I go into contemplation. The light bulb goes off. I've gotten my second, third DUI. Maybe I'm tired of being tired. Maybe I've experienced emotional distress. Maybe I've gotten into an argument with my significant other, whatever it is. Now I'm contemplating whether or not I am an addict. Not necessarily contemplating treatment, because that's still scary. I'm not there yet. But there can be severe situations that occur that lead people to that process. And we get people in treatment who are in pre-contemplation or contemplation stage and helping them work through it. We do something at Lasting Recovery that I'm extremely proud of. It's a timeline. We have people go through their timeline where they look at the progression of their disease. They're able to identify the progression, how it got worse, how it may have went from a casual relationship to an addiction. And they're able to pinpoint these different moments and experiences in their addiction. That helps them move forward in the stages of change. But as quick as they, or maybe not, got to pre-contemplation or contemplation, they can slide back. And early in my career, that was probably the most frustrating for me. It's like, they got it yesterday, and why don't they have it today? I don't get that part. But understanding that there's denial, understanding that there's rationalization, and understanding some of the thought process of why I'm here and why I don't have a problem. Many people come in with a comparison. They're comparing themselves to the addict or alcoholic that's on the street. But I have a job, but I have a bank account. My husband or wife is still here. I go on vacation. I'm well-groomed. I'm articulate. None of that matters. Okay? Because as you all know, addiction does not discriminate. So we talk about those things openly. And the group dynamic allows the challenging of this process and identifying, maybe the rationalization or the denial process. And we also talk about some of the behaviors that go with it and what keeps people in their addiction. So moving forward in the stages of change, we get to preparation. People are preparing. They're preparing for this big change that they're about to make. They're still not quite sure, but that's where the treatment center comes in and helping them. And that's where these alternative meetings or an individual treatment plan, an individualized treatment plan, as Jeff spoke about, comes in as well. The incorporation of having a choice. Where can I go? What can I do? We certainly tell our clients that it's important for them to have a support group outside of lasting recovery. That to ensure their lasting recovery, they have to continue this process, that they start with us, a community. And so we talk about what their needs are and identifying their needs so that they can find a support group that is going to benefit them. But going back to the stages of change a little bit. So oftentimes, people really have a difficult time with making this lifestyle change. They have a difficult time with identifying things that need to be changed, identifying things that haven't been helpful. And so if they're not necessarily having the support of maybe their families, or they are doing things that are not necessarily reinforcing their recovery, it might become a problem. It can become problematic for sure. So again, we're able to look at this in treatment and help them move forward. Help them to hopefully hold on to not just the motivation. For the most part, people are motivated. It's more about that fear. The fear that keeps people stuck, so to speak. The fear of the unknown. In their addiction, they know what to expect. It's not great, but they still know what to expect. But sobriety offers them something completely different, something for a lot of our clients that they've never experienced. And that's the scary part. So we're there to support, and of course they build a foundation within lasting recovery as well, a community to support them. But also to practice honesty, to talk about some of these experiences, to work through their denial. What are some of the rationalizations that they've had? What are the things that have kept them in their addiction? And providing them with a tremendous amount of education. Jeff does a really great job at providing them with the education in our chemical dependency program so that they have the tools to move forward. And if they should feel that they're sliding back at any point, they can use those tools to get back on track. But this dilemma, as I was speaking of earlier, can still be there. We certainly have folks who leave and are still questioning for whatever reason. And it's very powerful. The idea that I have to change everything is very scary. Many of you maybe have faced that, right? I can't hang out with certain people. I can't do these things. You're asking me to be sober for the rest of my life, Nika? That's scary. I don't know if I can do that. Right? I'm just asking to be sober for today. So using those concepts, and also, like I said, the importance of educating them on what stage they're in, that this is a normal process in recovery, that addicts frequently experience these things, and that what you're experiencing can be worked through, that we can process through this and move forward, and that you have the support of your peers as well as the clinicians to help you in that process. It was definitely something early on in my career that I had to take a look at, and really started incorporating, like I said, that cost-benefit analysis and helping them understand this dilemma, normalizing this dilemma that they experience, and moving forward. The power of change. It's a concept, for a lot of people, they ask me, well, things are always changing, and I say to them constantly, well, change is inevitable. It's going to happen. How do we work on that? How do we work on getting comfortable with it? You are a changing person. You are a developing person. And how can you do this in a successful, healthier way, adaptive way, especially moving forward in your recovery? Now, for incorporating meetings, I think that is a great option for our clients to move forward in helping that process. I've seen hundreds of addicts and alcoholics change. From the moment I saw them early in treatment to 5 years or 6 years in their sobriety, I see it all the time that it's possible. I think that it allows people to witness change outside of maybe the treatment facility, but it also allows them to grow with the changing times and whatever may happen in their lives. People are going to experience all types of things, ups and downs of life. And having a support system outside of treatment, LifeRing, 12-step, whatever they choose, will help them through that process. The support is there. Very short, but not simple at all. Very complicated process that I get to witness every day and help people work through. Any questions? So the question is, the process of relapse, especially with someone who's in treatment, how I would deal with that as a clinician. Well, we definitely have our procedures at Lasting Recovery, but I think as far as dealing with the changes, identifying in particular what was going on for them, helping them to set up a relapse prevention plan, but also helping them to define what stage of change they thought they were in. Did you go from preparation or action back into contemplation, and what affected that? What are things going on at home? Do you have a support family, a supportive family? Are you going to meetings? Have you identified your triggers? Those types of things. So helping them incorporate some tools so we can prevent that from happening. And so the accountability is how do you establish your own plan? And that's no different than, a facility going to treatment. We can't keep you sober. We offer you the tools and the education so that you can do that on your own. Because if you leave our treatment center without it, you're not in the best shape. You're not setting yourself up for success in recovery. So the process, I think, is more of not just the education, but also being able to practice the mindfulness and awareness of where am I? So when I talk about the stages of change, I ask people, what stage are you in? And why do you think you're in that stage? What's your thinking? What's your behavior? And how are you setting yourself up for the next as far as, success and recovery? So after preparation is action, maintenance, and recycle. So I tend to see that outside of treatment facility. So when people come back for like aftercare, some of the other programs that we're offering, we see people in those specific stages. Action is, what am I doing to keep myself well? And maintenance is how I keep this going. So after a year, I'm not healed. I stopped going to LifeRing. I stopped going to 12-step meetings. It doesn't work that way. Am I still taking my medications? Am I still seeing my therapist, right? I'm maintaining my recovery. Any other questions? Yes. So the 3 stages that I focused on that are particular to the folks that we're seeing in treatment would be pre-contemplation, contemplation, and planning. And then action would be there as well. So if I understand this correctly, the question is, how important is change and identifying that change with the person in recovery as well as maybe peers, right? Peers as in friends, family, outside. Very important. Very important. If our clients can't recognize that change needs to be made, they won't do anything different. And that's where that pre-contemplation, contemplation stage is really significant in working through that. If I am not willing to do anything different, I'm not going to have a different result. And also for the family. So we have a really strong family, support group as well, where we provide them with education. So they can also recognize, like, if they're not doing something different, how do they expect their families to get better? And we identify with them specifically what their family members need to be doing and offer them additional support so that can happen. Yeah. Any other questions? So the question is, how do I work with clients who are in a position where it might be difficult to make changes? Maybe there's some resistance to change for whatever reason, and they don't necessarily have a supportive environment for change. Well, I think one of the big pieces there is recognizing for our clients why they want change in the first place. And doing like a cost, benefit analysis with them, but also working through that resistance. I expect people to come into treatment resistant. I expect people to come into treatment not knowing what to do or how to do it. I expect people to come into treatment with obstacles that have been put in their way for whatever reason, where it might be a little bit more difficult. So we work through that. We look at whatever options they have, but also too, when the time is right, when it's appropriate, helping them based on their individual needs, directing them in the right group. You may not have a supportive family, you may not have friends, but you establish a relationship with your group in lasting recovery, and how can you do that outside of here? And a lot of times the peer support helps with that, because when individuals are struggling with going to outside meetings or doing other things, and they hear their peers are going, and the experiences that they're having, it helps ignite that flame. So the question is, do you have to hit rock bottom? I do not believe that you have to hit rock bottom. So it's like saying everyone has to come into treatment at a different stage. You won't be successful if you come in at contemplation. You won't be successful if you come in at preparation. You won't be successful if you're here or that. We're meeting the clients where they are, right? And helping them to move forward. If someone comes in and they've had an argument with their significant other, that may not be rock bottom to someone else, but that was significant for them. So we meet them where they are, and we work through that. So no, I don't believe that at all. Yes? So the question is, a treatment plan for someone that comes in that may not have the option to completely be abstinent from substances. So the example would be someone that works in sales, a high-profile job where drinking maybe is available at work, or they are socializing in that way, and it's mandatory for their job. So yours is a loaded question. And I'm going to give probably not an answer that will answer your question immediately, but we can chat afterwards. We are not going to be promoting managing substances, the use of managing substances. We are going to identify the goals of why someone wants to be sober in the first place and set up a way that they can do that. I have worked with plenty of high-profile celebrity clients, people who are around substances and alcohol all the time, who have managed to stay sober. And we're going to look at ways that they can do that. Ways that they can be successful, because even though it may not seem that they can do it, they can. But again, what's the willingness for them to change that? Okay, where are they in those stages of change with having to give up certain things? Because even though in their sobriety, I'm sober, great, but I'm giving up all these other things. And why would I be willing to do that? So for that particular person, we're going to be working through that process and defining what it is for them to be a sober person and what they're willing to give up, because unfortunately they're going to have to give up a lot. Well, fortunately they are, but they may have a tough time in doing so, and that's with processing. And that's something that we make clear right from the beginning. So if there's not a willingness, then maybe our facility is not appropriate. Right. I think what I'm talking about is starting with the person. Because if you're not on board, if a client comes in and they're not on board for recovery, then how are we going to get anybody else? And how are they going to be able to come up with a plan for themselves and stick to that plan? So it starts with them. What's the internal motivation that they have? What are they identifying as problematic in their life, right? What changes are they willing to make? No, not necessarily. It's just a process. In the last, I would say 3 years specifically, I would say that people have more of a hybrid treatment of support, that they're going to both LifeRing or some type of 12-step. I don't think that it's so black and white. And that's not been my experience either. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
My name has been